for you to review. Okay, let's see. How many of you are brand new to this class?
I am.
Welcome. Let me see. How can I view everything?
I am.
Hello,
Ecom.
Ecom. Okay, nice to meet you, Ecom.
I have taken many of your classes, but
and Massing.
Yes,
From,
here
where are you?
in the UK.
Oh, in UK. It must be very early or too late.
It's late. Yes, it's
Late,
5:30 in the evening. Or yeah.
Evening. Oh, thank you for joining us. And Angie from New Zealand.
Yes, Adrian from New Zealand.
Adrian from New Zealand. Nice meeting you. You're my online student. It's good to see you in person here. And we also have expecting someone from France. So it's an international class.
Wow.
Okay.
That's great.
Let me turn on my lights. Okay, so we can mute the background. You can still, you know how to unmute yourself, right? So we don't hear any noise. When you're not talking, you can keep muted. And if you like to comment or ask questions, feel free to do so. So we're in a live Zoom class now on Chinese brush painting, focusing on landscape painting masters in the pre-modern or modern era. For those of you who are already with me through the last two series, we have gone through the whole process of Chinese landscape painting from 10th century all the way to 17th century, from the kind of primitive landscape and the development of three perspectives, and then the monumental landscape in Song Dynasty, which is the first peak in the art history of maybe the world, I will say. The highest achievement in landscape painting was in the Song Dynasty, probably, both theoretically and practically. And then in the Yuan Dynasty, it developed into a combination of calligraphy and painting. We call that literati painting or scholar painters. And in Ming Dynasty, we see a trend towards a revivalism, you know, of the Song Dynasty. At the meantime, synthesizing, you know, all the styles in Ming Dynasty, the four masters of Yuan Dynasty, sorry. So the Yuan Dynasty actually is very important. The four masters of Yuan Dynasty we studied, namely Huang Gongwang, Wang Meng, Wu Zhen, and what's the fourth one? Huang Wang Wu Ni Zan, right? Ni Zan. So these four are very important, and they have direct influence on the Ming Dynasty master Dong Qichang. He studied the Orthodox school. And then in the 17th century, we see the rise of individualism, represented by the four monks. And in the last class, we talked about Shi Tao, one of the four grand masters, greatest monk painters. 石涛, or stone wave. Today we're going to talk about another Shi, or monk. His name is Kun Can. By the way, on my table you can see a stack of booklets. These are like a extract from an encyclopedia, maybe by artist biography dictionary, maybe. So they have this little booklets for each masters, and I have collected every one of them when I was in university. So we have gone quite a few of these names. You know, the masters in Tang Dynasty, the General Li, Guo Xi, the four masters of Song Dynasty, Fan Kuan, Guo Xi, Mi Fu, and his son Mi Youren, the Mi Dot, you know. You can see the quality of the print is you know, late 70s or early 80s, I say. Yeah, so when I studied art history, the condition is like this. And Shen Zhou, Shen Shitian, Wen Zhenming, Wu Zhen, you know, these are the Ming Dynasty four masters. And then we talked about Gong Xian, right? Gong Xian is the class before Shitao, the lesson 19. You can see that's Gong Xian's painting. Even from this kind of poor quality plates, I can still get you know, the style development.
Henry, yes. we can't see what, are you flipping through the books? Because we can't see that.
Oh, I'm sorry. My camera is frozen. I don't know what happens. Thank you for telling me. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm flipping through the books. So let me just start, continue. I don't want to repeat. Just let you know, these are all just the name of the artist, and it comes with an essay on their biography, and there's a few paintings. So speaking of the two monks, there is a combined book here. We have two monks among the four. Hongren, I mentioned, is Susan still here? She introduced us.
Lisa,
right? Lisa
yeah.
Curry, right?
Yeah.
Lisa, did you paint the Hongren, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Okay. So Hongren was one of the Zen monk in Huangshan school. Huangshan, see the Huangshan pine and the rock here, and his painting of you know, that's Hongren. Very distinctive style, derived from Nizan. Now we see Kun Can. Even from this very poor quality photograph, you can still see the difference between them, right? So just, you know, through this book, I studied each masters, and then, you know, also in my my university course, like on art history and connoisseurship, because I was an archaeologist. So and incidentally, it's interesting. I have two copies of the same artist, Kun Can. Probably I forgot, you know, I had when the second time I saw this book, I bought it again, maybe. So that's what happened, I guess. And if someone else wanted, I can share an extra copy. This one is unused. Maybe I will send it to Ping Huang. If a Ping wanted, Ping.
Hi, sure. Thank you.
Okay, So you can read it. And this is the artist we're going to do. And we also will talk about Huang Binghong later. Huang Binghong is the biggest figure, master in 20th century landscape painting, classical landscape painting. And just briefly, you can compare his style with Hongren, Kun Can. I think Kun Can is kind of hard to pronounce. Can spelled as Can. Kun means bald or shaved, like the monk head shaved, and Can means disabled, or unable. But his name is Can, right? In Chinese, in English pronunciation, Can actually C pronounces TS sound, and Huang Binghong is an art historian, and he spent all his life just doing one thing: landscape painting. And he is a very established educator, book author, and teacher. His style basically dominates academic art schools in China for last 30 years, I think, maybe 40 years since I was in school. Anyway, you can see his painting very similar to the style of this 17th century monk. So it's a very recognizable style, but it's not very easy actually. We'll start by doing some drills from the Master Seed Garden Manual painting. The handout I give you has some illustrations, diagrams on the two artists from the Yuan and the Ming, Yuan and the Yuan dynasty. Yeah, the Huang Gongwang's trees and the rocks, and also Wang Meng, the untangled rope style. I think we can do some exercise on that, and the trees. Maybe that will help to understand the technique. Okay, so let's see if I can find that for you. If you are painting along, you can get your paper for this. Could be anything. I'll show you the difference. It could be size, semi-sized, or even unsized for his expressive style. But I prefer sized and semi-sized, semi-absorbent, because it's a little easier for beginners. Let me see, Chinese landscape, classical. Okay, let's say the rock. Okay, this is the 解锁村. Okay. I'll use a combination brush because Hongren is I'm not Hongren, Kun Can or Shixi. Let's call him Shixi. Shixi use bold, B-O-L-D, not B-A-L-D. Right? How do maybe we call it pointless, right? Blunt, or and not pointed brush. To be. How to say in Chinese? In Chinese, to be means it has a double meaning. To head, and in case of be, it's unpointed or blunt, maybe. So, and he used a very dry brush, very thirsty brush. So you can use a paper towel or a piece of cloth to get rid of. I'm not sure if this is the same size or size. Maybe this is same size and the size and the end size. So we will try all of them. So let's say just painted the small rock on the corner of this illustration. Oopsie, I don't think you see it. Okay, I'm using this illustration here. So we always start from the contour, right? And there's a place we call it stone nose. Usually it's in the center. You know, like it's protruding from the. You can use this light ink to start with. If you're not sure, it's easy to make changes. Okay. And notice that he used a tip-centered, tip-concealed stroke, but it's like a flying dragon, you know, with just like his cursive style calligraphy, but you have to kind of control it, so it's not like creating weird turns that goes beyond the reason of natural law. You know, you don't want to. But he does like strange rocks, just like Shihao. He lived in the mountain for 10 years to escape the turmoil after the crackdown of resistance to the the Manchu Qing dynasty. He was a monk when he was 20, and then at the age of 30, he became a soldier to defend his home from the Manchu invasion, and then it was eventually they gave up, and he escaped to the deep mountain where he stayed for 10 years and got, according to some history book and the writings on the inscriptions on his painting and poem, he says he got 10 years of sickness also, because he suffered from rheumatism, joint pain throughout his life, caused by the mountain, the maybe poor living conditions there, and so he called himself disabled or handicapped monk. Basically, Kun Can means bald or shaved, disabled, handicapped. Yeah. So this kind of Chun is derived. This Chun means a wrinkle technique. It's derived from the hand stroke. Can you see? Maybe it's too light. I just make it. And if you start light, and then you can go darker, but not to the extent of the black line you see in this woodblock print, because only the dots are the darkest in terms of ink using. So beginners, they use this book. It's easy to make this kind of mistake. They paint everything in dark, right? Because it's monoprint. So be careful with that. That's why in this class, I prefer to use colored plate, the high resolution images, from internet is better than books. So if you could, just go to Wiki Comma or Google Cultural, or metmuseum.org to download those. You can see the line here. It has this kind of entangled rope kind of. It's similar to the one we studied last time, about the leaf, lotus vein leaf, that kind of thing. But this one is like it's drier. It describes like the hair of an ox or buffalo, but like fur of an ox. 牛毛. It's very kind of coarse, a rough surface. And he also learned from this artist, Huang Gongwang. See this limestone, what called the lime, little stones and large stones, that kind of, so I will just show you some ink work of his brushwork, so you get a sense of the ink use. Let me see if I can just go. Okay, I have to change directory. Let me show you just one Wang Meng style. So in this class, I tried to trace the source and the inspirational source and the inference later. So we don't have to follow exactly the timeline. So maybe we'll more concentrate on technique, styles, something like that. I think it should be under Huang Gongwang. I don't have Huang Meng in my collection yet. 4 ones. That's not Wang Meng. Yuan Dynasty. I misplaced the folder. Sorry. Let's just go to Shixi himself. So let's find out the ink use. Okay, so if you look at his black and white painting, okay, you will see the ink better, right? So before he apply color, he will do an ink painting basically. No matter how simple it is, it could be just the contour, and then he just using large brush, just like the pouring ink or pouring ink or pouring color. But you always start with ink bone. That's what we call the bone, the structure. You can see maybe a little larger. Okay. So you can paint with a little darker ink, maybe just enhance on the hollow part of the rock. You can, if you like, you can redefine the shape. Like let's say, oh, this is too round. I can make it a little different. Just you can still modify it, and you can use mask dots to cover up some areas. You can enrich some areas, enhance parts of the rock. Just like where do I put these dots? It just depends. Sometimes you have to keep an eye on the whole rhythm of the. Say if I have more dense here, I want some sparse there. Just to balance. So you keep an eye on the whole. And then to practice this, you need to do a lot just to get used to the nature of the brush. So you hold the brush like that and just try to dot kind of round, between round and square, maybe zoom in a little bit. Okay. So you can use a piece of paper to do this before you do the painting. So don't practice on your painting. Practice on newspaper or something, whatever you can get. Just use your wrist. And the brush I'm using is a red hair combination brush. And you can use this mustard brush we made for this recently.
Pero no que combination, pues.
Pardon me?
Sorry.
Oh.
I thought you were using a combination brush.
Yeah, I can use the combination brush.
Okay.
Yeah, because his line is dry but soft. You can feel that it's rough, but not so coarse. You know, it's rounded still. Oh, by the way, if you like to copy any of the paintings I've seen, just give a shot, and then we'll see how many people interested in what. And then we still, I'm open to suggestions what to do today. So just, this album is excellent because I have high resolution images you can see here. Let me use another window so you can see larger ones. And you can see the color very much like oil, right? Strong, yeah. Yeah, look at this painting. Is that amazing? So he has influence definitely on contemporary artists. Here I even see some artists like Zhu Qizhan. He lived 103 years old and died about a few years ago in Shanghai. And also maybe Li Keran, also contemporary artist in Beijing. And yeah, that's his typical style with this kind of dry stroke, wrinkle texture, and dots. You see the dots we try to do? The dots could be inspired by Wu Zhen, but Wu Zhen has more moisture in his painting, not so. If you read the handout I gave you, I have translated some stories from the history book and also his inscriptions on some of the paintings. So he's basically a monk living in the natural environment, and every day he would sit and meditate. I think his mind is creating these images. So as soon as he finished that practice, he will run to his painting table to start capture the mind image. And in some paintings, you can see him, like this one, he's walking on the trail towards along the stream towards a pavilion. In some larger paintings, I really love this one. Do you like this one?
Yes.
Very contemporary.
Yeah, that's terrific.
So we should
Yeah,
do
let's
this
do
one
that.
definitely.
That would be a good one
Okay.
to do today.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He has it
Yeah.
in two colors, doesn't he? One in blue and one in,
Yeah. That's a good observation. I like that. Thank you. Who's this?
oh, that was Pam.
Pam.
Yeah.
Good observation. This his style is a typical indigo and amber style. We have that in watercolor too, right? Brown and blue.
Yeah.
but, yeah, this resolution is not so high, but you can see that if you enlarge it, you will see a little monk sitting on the mat, usually on a corner, not necessarily at the focus. His monastery maybe he's kind of living on the edge of this monastery. He's a hermit kind of. This is a temple where people gather and worship, I think. But he lives like in a corner of this, and you can see this one is a typical a very large painting. I've seen this in Nanjing museum collection. You can see he's on the side. I think I have a maybe detail later. You can see on this corner he's sitting there. And this is the gate of temple, I think. Yeah, he's on the side. Not as you might think, he's the focus in the center of the universe. No. He's just part of it. He's an integral part of it.
His pathways seem much more distinctive than the other paintings. Usually the pathways have been hidden, but in this case, it really shows through.
Yeah, he has a pathway. Because in many poems, he described difficulty to get into his temple, a little temple or place, So one of his best friend is Chen Kui. He spent a lot of time, with him. They would read books, history books, and write poems, and then climb the mountain in the morning or the dusk, before the dusk, and paint together. But later, when his friend became older, he described how difficult to get in to see him. So the trail also represents the difficulty in this kind of trip. And he had the three ashamed feelings. So, and when he gets old, one of that was he's ashamed of his feet not being able to travel all the mountains in the world. He also said that he is ashamed of his blunt eyes, which not allow him to read 10,000 volumes. And lastly, he regrets that his ears are not enough to listen to the wise, teachings of wise people. This is example of the format he does his painting on the album leaf. He will give to the patron of his friend is a big patron of a temple. That's where they met in Nanjing, my hometown. 大报恩寺, I think they met. And then this one was given to another Buddhist donor, maybe a follower. So on the left, he will write life advice. I cannot read through all, but maybe Ping can help me. But basically, it says, if you put fame and fortune first, then you will forget about life and death. If you put life and death first, you forgot fame and fortune, and so on. So if you put so this is a dilemma, right? But as a believer in Buddhism, you detached from all this material concerns, and therefore you become a 贤人 in the 天地间, a leader person between heaven and earth. Okay, I just briefly translate that. Hope you help you understand. And you can see the in this painting. the heaven and earth is connected with a waterfall and a trail among, you know, this is a hidden trail, maybe a little bit, yeah, behind this rock. And then you can see this meditator here sitting over a water bridge, meditate, just, you know, observing the flow of the greatest symbol of Tao, you know. Anyway, so his painting has a lot of inscriptions, very inspirational for advice, you know, for and some has to do with his art, how he see the art. And yeah, this is another splash ink painting. Anyway, so this is a typical example of his large scale painting, you know, like a temple with meditator in the tea house maybe, and sometimes with a crane and a cup of tea on the table. This is small, you know, you can see the little the lifestyle. He loves nature. He's yeah, this is the one I'm talking about. Let me show you. So this is him. Do you see him right against the edge wall maybe? And you can see on the table there's a cup of a teapot with tea, and then a crane. Crane is the wife of a hermit. You maybe heard the story of Song Dynasty literati. He planted a tree of a plum and grow a crane called Mei Qi He. Actually, the plum is his wife, the crane is his son. Basically, that's kind of hermit life. But he's sitting on a straw mat there, and actually he's not facing us, right? Yeah, he in the inscription of this painting, he says he finished this meditation and then rushed to capture this image right after that. So he created this image. So someone in my class is saying, "Oh, where can I buy a book of Chinese landscape photographs so we can copy?" I say, no, there's no such thing of a landscape like the painting. Only we don't copy the nature, but nature copy us, like the artist. You know, the nature may look like a painting. So the painting is created by a man with this. You know, it's the mountains and river in someone's heart. Yeah. Anyway, so much so about the historical background. So let's continue the practice. I hope you already get some feel of the brush strokes, right? So I'll do the simple one first, and then we'll try to maybe do some more restrictive painting. So we'll do that impressionistic painting. We got okay. Let me see. I'm going to do that one also. I wish I had time. So I'm going to use unsized paper or semi-sized. I'm not sure. So I double it, and in case it bleeds. Okay, it's a vertical one. So maybe I'll just use the whole piece. Have some really fun, so you can see better maybe. Okay, let's see. If you cannot see the details, you may open another window maybe, or you can print it out. I didn't print it. Anyway. I use some medium dark ink. I got some left over on the plate. By the way, there are two schools of using ink and water. One school is like Dong Qichang. he will keep his utensils definitely clean, and nizan maybe also he has a neat freak. But another school like my own teacher Han Shaoying and Huang Binghong, the 20th century master, and also probably this master, this monk master Shixi, he will never wash his brush washer, and that's where he got grace, right? And let's say I just use the dark water here. That's the best gray you got, you know. And he might use the overnight ink. Huang Binghong used all this kind of. He never washed his ink stone, so overnight ink it was used by Huang Binghong, and he's a big fan of Shixi. Shixi means stream. And his best friend Qingxi, Green Stream, is a place in Nanjing where they, yeah. And so he is called because his name has stone and stream. So he is together with Shi Tao, two shis in art history, or two xis with Qingxi, that his friend Chen Zhenhui. So I'm going to draw some composition first, and you can see about. Let me see. I always think it's horizontal, but it's not. Okay, let me. So vertically, I don't have room for all. I think I just do half page. I just do half page. So you can see the whole thing, right? Okay. So basically, you can fold the paper. That's an easy way to do. So I will just use half and half, and then you can, sometimes I do a diagonal, but this composition is more like a vertical, horizontal, and not so much diagonal. Maybe I can do a diagonal there, just kind of avoid these lines. I try to avoid, or sometimes just be aware that the center should be a little off, something like that. And you can start with the pine tree here. It's about half in this box, this left box. So it doesn't matter how tall. Just keep it low. I think it's to leave more room for the white clouds. I think the clouds is below the center line, so you need to do this about about a half, maybe a little, something like that. So I will do the the tree first. Then we'll have fun. Okay, so you can see the line is quite dry, right? So you can go slow, even on this absorbent paper. I don't know how absorbent this would be. Let's try. Let's just do this house, maybe this temple. Let's see. So the focal point actually is on the edge, almost out of the paper there. Let me just do this. Oh, this is very absorbent. So I dry the brush further. I dry the bottom of the brush, and just use dry brush. It's still too wet. I've got some peach sap glue here to control that. And this little features on the ridge of the roof. So make sure you have a stop at the beginning and a stop at the end of the line. So the line not just just like a dead wire kind of. You can have a little bit nail head, which is a pause in the beginning, and a little pause maybe also in the end. Okay, and then draw a line under the roof, and then the pillow, some pillows just divided equally, like windows. Pay attention on the proportion. If you're not sure, use charcoal or pencil if you like. Okay, and there's a tree from outside of the painting. Don't be afraid to go outside, go beyond the edge, you know, so you're not to lead the viewer into infinity. So there's a branch on the top, and then there's a branch shorter under it. It has a Y-shaped, V-shaped split, and this is a bigger one on top. And then we will dot with dark ink. You don't have to load a lot, just a few, and you start from the tip of this branch, and then you proceed to the back, and you create a gradation from dark to light and from wet to dry naturally, right? So and then you do it again with a little dark on the tip, and then let's say where the dark is, maybe here. You don't have to copy dot by dot or one stroke by one, just to see the tendency. See the dark along the touch the branch, that contrast with the white. We'll color that later with brown, but now it's white and black only. Black and white is the value in Western painting, right? We do a value first, value paint, you know, monocolor painting first, and then we do another stroke, just one touch on the tip, and it covers the roof a little bit, and just but we try to use lighter ink, you know, against the edge, maybe just some scratch, some dry brush. That's it. And you can you can dip a little water if you want the light. So this is how I control it. So I dry the brush, and when I need the water, I just touch. Let me show you you don't have to see my face now. You just see my loading zone. So let me turn off my camera here. Oops. Okay, let me see. Can you see? No, let me restart the camera again. Oops. So, oh, okay, here we go. You can see like that. So this is how I load the brush. Just touch the tip of the water, and then you get a light water to start, and then reverse gradation. You get from light to dark, you know, from very clean to, so that's you control. That's how I control the gradation at in one stroke. Yeah, basically, that's how I do it. And then now I use a little more. Let's see if I can load the brush here so you can see. Okay. So I'm using this moss dot, Blue Hammer Arts moss dots. You can use a stiff brush, landscape painting brush. Okay, now I'm doing this circled the outlined leaf tree here. Okay, it's very important that I use this temple, this building as a as the reference, frame of reference. So I know how large the tree is without looking at the whole picture. You know, I used to make a mistake. I painted the whole tree on on the entire paper if I don't do this house, this building first. So we just develop from here. Okay. Now I'm going to use some dark dry ink on the tip to draw this trunk, but very dry. So when you have a dry line, it's kind of a softer than, you know, and it's easier to control the bleed. I can use, show you the way I control that. I see the split is here roughly. So it's about not very far from it's actually between the pine. Later it will be pine. It's in between the root is between the pine tree and the building. So it's roughly here, right? So let's just draw the left first, then the right. You can draw the left relatively free, and then you have a reference. You can just, you know, make up the other half, right? So usually I go down from top to the bottom on the left, and then on the right, I draw from top like a V, and then I have this kind of split. Doesn't matter if it's not exactly the same as the masters, but just follow the stroke, and you'll get your signature eventually. So I don't really need to do the root part in this case. It's kind of soft. It's very contemporary kind of. We call this like a photograph kind of composition, right? Do you want to see more detail? I can focus on this, but I want you to see the whole piece so you don't get lost as a whole picture, okay? But yeah, I zoom in on the original instead, on mine. So you look at more of the original, not mine, okay? So now I'm going to draw with the same brush, maybe a little bit of water to draw this outlined leaves. Okay. You can draw in 2 strokes, left and right. It's easier. If you cannot do the whole circle in 1 stroke, it's okay to draw around, you know, with 2 strokes. Just do 2 strokes like that. Can you do that? If you want to see larger ones, I just show you like that. And then try to stack them together with maybe 3 or 5 in a group. You can see, sometimes you can see the 3 or 5 clearly. So don't stop before you finish a group, a cluster. So even sometimes you got very dry, that's okay. You want that solid and soft. You see the change between dark and the light. That comes up when you keep doing it, you know, when you just keep doing it in 1 stroke, even because with this brush, maybe a larger brush, I can do it without reload. Just you know the character pin, right? In some calligraphy, the student learned this. This is the rank or class character. We use that as a guideline, and then you can add an upside down one, maybe, you know. So basically you put all 3 as a group, and then now I have to pay attention on the outer shape of the crown of this tree. So you don't want to make a noli cup tree, you know, like a round on a stick, right? So, but you don't have to really copy real trees always. But if you just follow the natural principles of how things, how trees grow, and just feel the urge of the plant or the tree, you know, like an umbrella opening to the sun, and just imagine the how the plant, the tree grows, and you can make your own nice trees. Okay, and you can maybe, I don't see any wrinkle, but if needed, you can dot a bark or something. Just, you know, just make it nice. So concentrate on your painting rather than the original. When you paint, it's best to practice like you do a few copy in front of the original, and then you take it away and just get a, you know, you can do this. I close it, and then just turn your eyes away from the original when you do it, when you do your own. Don't try to finish one thing at a time, maybe, and then eventually you can memorize the whole painting without a reference. Okay, now I'm doing this V-shaped pine tree, and then yeah, and it has a kind of lean trunk, right? Okay, towards the right, the tendency towards the right. Pine tree is not straight, always in China. So you see this kind of bonsai trees. That's natural when they grow in the mountains with wind and other conditions. They tend to grow with one arm stretch, you know, something like that. And you can see the tendency of twisting here on the crown. I call it the Tai Chi movement. You know, that kind of Tai Chi movement. That's an S kind of twist there. You don't have to follow me, but that's how my teacher told me when I was a student. He mentioned this secret to me, and I'll just pass to you. It took me a lifetime to think about it. Still, I cannot really tell you exactly what that means, but Tai Chi movement, when I practice Tai Chi, I understand it's the opposite twist. You know, the yin yang fish, Tai Chi, yeah. Also black and contrast, black and white contrast, yeah. See, I'm using a little dark to the tip, and I hope it will get lighter and lighter. And it kind of loose presentation of the pine needles that we learned earlier with like the fan shape or kind of. So we don't have to do the group. We just kind of concentrate on the dots, the rhythm and horizontal kind of shape of the arm of the pine there. And then when the brush gets dry and lighter, you do something behind. Maybe you can dry it with a paper towel. Just dry it as you get very soft ink representing the, oops, I got too dark. It's just a little bit suggestion. Okay, here we have more. You can go up if you like. I usually go down. I think it's easier. And then notice the direction. They kind of sometimes, yeah, it's almost like toothbrush. Huh? You might say that, but don't make that really as toothbrush. You know. You can leave a little space between the foliage and the trunk, but in this case he doesn't really do that. But it's a common suggestion by artists who who does pine trees, you know, in one of my class, you might learn this. Okay, another temple, just the roof part. You can do the rock if you like. I just started doing this, so I finished this. And the horizontal, keep it leveled. It's good. Under the trees, there's a side roof, a triangular shape, and some features. Just, you know, don't fuss too much. Just make sure the proportion is right. The large smallness of it might be small compared to the tree, and the, yeah, it could be, but so what? Just you know, if as long as believable, it's a house. So proportionally, the person should be smaller than the house, and then the tree could be bigger or small. And there are some, I see some branches, so you don't have to do other details. If you think it's complete, that's okay. So now I'm going to work on this rock that in front of the building, this giant wall, 3 rock. It has 3 dimensions. The rock has 3 dimensions, right? So this is how I do it. I can start from the, you can do it in one stroke. You start from left to the right, or you can do it from the top. So maybe we just do it from here from right to the left. You can do the opposite if you feel more comfortable. It doesn't matter, just one stroke. Basically, it's almost like a barn shape, like a mushroom, rounded, yeah. And then you connect to another small piece on the right, and a smaller piece in the front, like a small mushroom. And so this part is kind of shady, and this dividing line between the large and small, and some wrinkles, dry brushing, because I don't reload so my brush gets dry. If not, you can use paper towel too. But don't try, try to follow a certain sequence in your pen. You don't have to follow exactly mine. So just do the right thing at the right moment as the brush is appropriate. You see, I have light and dry ink. Now I need to add just a little water, a little to the tip, and then I know. So when you do enough, you know the behavior of the brush. It becomes part of your hand. You just know what's going to expect. So this stroke is a slope like that in front of the tree, right? I just extend that, and there's a slope like this, and then a slope. Sorry. These are hemp strokes representing the earth covered. If these are the bare rocks, the dark ones on top, or we call this alum stones, we better just do it without so much detail, so you don't really need to copy. So if I keep it small, I got lost on the whole proportion. See, the rock might be too big compared to the house already. That's the problem when you zoom that much. So let me just finish the proportion part. So I don't do the textures until I finished the whole structure, right? See, this is another character we studied in the lesson 1. If you missed, if you didn't take that lesson 1, you can go back to find the early recordings. We talked about the chill, the character of heel. That is here. I think, and now you just add another one. Or you can consider, just this part is the chill, I think. It's the 3 division. kind of make it three-dimensional. 3 faces of rock. That's the Chinese name for dimension. 3 faces, three planes in Western language maybe. And I see a slope. I think, you know, I may have to adjust a little bit. So I go down here. Let me see. We can go. Look at the line. If it's too straight, you want to vary that, because he ended right there. So if I extend that, I want to make a little difference. Maybe we can make it rise again, you know, to stop the eye. Or let me see, you can make another. Variations. Try to vary a little bit. Just okay. And these are hemp, you know, the plant, the bark or the skin of the plant you used to make a rope. And if it's parallel, it's just called hemp fiber stroke, representing the earthy hills here. So just earthy hills like that. And I think this painting is pretty much like a shithouse, you know, very wet into wet. So he probably did the wrinkles before it gets dry with color, and then let me see. So maybe the color and the ink is breaking into each other to make it really alive. So I see wet into wet, something like that. So yeah, we just have to adapt a little bit. I'm going to finish the entire composition first, and then I will do the washing. So I just stop here in this section, and I'll go on top. So this basically like not much change in the sense of distance, right? There's a cloud that make it look like, feel like the two grounds, foreground and background. Maybe you call this the middle ground, and then the background on the left. So this one is taller. So this is basically a diagonal. Continue this tendency of the pine. It goes. If this is the opening, we call this opening. This opening up, and then we close it down from top. You can start from the center of this. We call that stone nose. See, so this is the chill. I see that so there are some trees covering that line. So that's basically. Okay. It's done pretty amazingly fast. I think he just did a wet into wet, I believe. Maybe it's done on the mountain, like a plein air painting. I would do that if I'm. And you can feel the call of the mountain there. But in real mountain, I think it would be, you know, more luxuriant with lots of details. But in painting, we simplify it into the language of like a calligraphy. Here you can see clearly how he simplified the Christmas tree into the skeleton kind of stick trees, I call it. The other day, Victoria was watching a bonsai master showing people how to do this kind of bonsai from the small Christmas tree. With the root, don't throw it away after Christmas. You can just trim it and make it into a bonsai pine. Victoria, maybe you can share a picture with the chat if you have later. Maybe I'll send you. So this tree on top, we can add that right now, is very much like the trimmed Christmas tree. This was done with just pure ink. It doesn't matter if it's foreground and background, but basically you should have done the remote less detail and then less ink. So theoretically, yeah, that's the idea. But you can do it with I guess this could be done after the wash. So we should save the energy for that. We accumulated it, all the energy just for the last touches to celebrate. I think so. Just keep that in mind. The trees are the last, I think. So we need to set it up first. We need to set up the stage for the trees yet to come, I think. Okay, let's concentrate on what we're doing, not be sidetracked. I tend to have the tendency that, but he will do this. I'm sure, like Huang Minghong, he will start from the cloud, the foot of the clouds, and then do the hill, the top of the peak. So it doesn't matter, but he has a whole picture in mind. So you just try to choose a path that best suit the needs, I think. So we don't have to do the wet into wet thing here. I think we're almost ready to do the wash. So I'm going to do the wash with this rat whisker brush. No, not rat whisker, the rabbit combination brush. That's what I got. And I'll just use this dirty water here, or you can use green, greenish or bluish gray. Just add some, dishwashing water, or just any leftover color you have. Maybe just a little gray, or just pure ink is fine. So I'll do the texture shaping. Almost you don't really use the side of the stroke. I think because this is a unsized paper, so I just notice that my washing is significantly lighter than the line, right? So that just keep the line visible, not covering it. And pay attention to the foot of the heel, that soft into the white clouds. So you need to save the white, and you can add more water later to soften it even further. So let me just finish the structure first. And I see the valley is here, and another mountain. I just you can just add a little. Let me see. I have some. I wish I have some blue left. I just get some blue here. I don't think there's much blue, but theoretically we should have some blue in the atmospheric perspective. When you get into the distant, you have this kind of blue there. So I add a little indigo to the gray. Now I just do this this mountain, just one stroke all the way there, and to the valley, and to some, and another hill just like that. Yeah, just paint the shape, and it goes up actually. So just, you see, this paper records all the stroke. It has a watermark, so you cannot do it little by little. You have to be decisive. Just use the whole brush, the side of the brush. The movement is the direction of the slope, not like that. And leave a little space in between strokes for warm amber colors, okay? And leave lots of white here in this area. So I just draw some dry stroke, just gives myself a little suggestion of that. And I can add a little color to this area, and just add a little water to the front of the brush to create a even softer foot that goes into the pine tree here. And just, you can add just pure water, it will disappear. Okay, like that. And okay, now I should change color. I think I got a little over the line, yin yang line, the warm and cool here. You can use umber instead of orange. Let me just use umber. So basically blue and umber. Umber. Okay, this is the umber. And you can mix a little bit blue, that's okay, or a little ink just to mute it. So they're not so shallow, so vibrant. So just mute a little bit. And I do see some pure ones right here. And you can use them to cover the ink if needed. Okay. And I see, oops, okay, this should be the green one. This one is the orange one, right? This one there, and there's some orange there under that, and then just go. The bottom of my brush is almost water, so I know that. I just slant the brush to finish this, and then you can add more water. Just reverse gradation, and just make sure the water is into the wall. It's here, and I have a line here in it's more leveled. This one has a little zigzag, thing like that. Oh, I got some leftover ink there. That's nice. That's a happy accident. You don't have to copy this, but since I have that in the brush, it's just a particle from the leftover ink. It just melt in the wet. That creates some pastel effect, which is nice. I kind of expect that, but not really control it. You cannot really duplicate this kind of thing. This is what we call the style, the escape class. 异品 means escape from the norm. And you can have a little variational color, like you can add a little yellow in gamboge just to make a little. Oops, I got some dark blue there. Just take it off. Oh, that's okay. Just that's another accident. But this kind of thing just want to be there. You don't want to just leave it. It's original painting. So you got a little little bits of pure color. So this one, it's there. Yeah, and just blend a little bit into the brown. So let it blend on the paper, so it not on the palette here, right? So you see that kind of gray generated by mixing two colors there. Actually, they're brown on top of the green here too. So just I would finish all my colors just like that. And yeah, I see a little clouds I may have missed, but that's okay. You can add trees in front of that to create some more. Oops, I got some. I try to avoid this, but it just keep happening. The pure colors. Anyway, this front has a little bit mineral green there. So I got mineral green pastel color, mineral color. And but usually
Henry, is that stone green?
it's the number the green is number, what's the number? 593 in the Marisa 12.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let me just put it here. It's the color I'm using. Okay. So let's do this part. Usually the green has to come after the umbers. Otherwise it's too chalky, all right? So let's do that. Or you can use ink or you know, just some kind of vegetable color to begin with. So some indigo, maybe umber should be. Umber is a good complementary to the green. So in this part, I think it's lighter than the background. So I'm just using more water. Let's see what happens. Okay, that's good. Looks okay. Well, let's just do the green first, and then we do the amber later. Because the amber is on the top of this green. This is almost like grass, you know, very light green color. Light green color there. Almost like in Western language, we'll say it's a highlight area, you know, with the most of the lights hit. And just, you don't have to finish. That's the point, I think. So just combine colors and you'll get a nice result. But also follow the logic, you know, just the green, you know, on top of amber, not the vice versa. But this bare rock on top of this should be a little, we can make an amber here with the orange, yellow, and the blue. So a little bit variation. Okay, I got amber. Let me just squeeze a little more. Let's see. Oh, here. Amber for the rock on top of the almond numbs. Okay, and you can avoid covering the ink by doing it on the back. That's something you can do. This is the unsized paper. Look like you can see through. So I just do it right here from the back. So that will avoid covering the lines if I use this intensive color like that. Okay. I got another painting coming on the reverse. Okay. So you see that that's the color I got on the front. And if you do it on the front, that's okay. And I just dilute it so it will not be too thick to cover the ink effect. And in fact, you could have done this before the line even gets dry, so it blend into each other. But you have to be very skillful, otherwise you may make a mess, because if the line start to bleed, it will be messy. So timing is very crucial. So you can have some kind of wet into wet, but maybe not very blurry. I got another stone here before it reaches the bottom. Okay, you can have some blue to the on the front, just to add some shadow, maybe kind of in the shady area on the bottom of the rock, maybe, or along the on the inside, on the shady side. Just mute it, basically. Just mute it a little bit, so it's not so pure. You can do it after it dries. When it starts to bleed, stop doing anything. So just leave it. Okay. Let me finish by doing a little bit umber on this earthy part. I just want to create some shadow and leave this green area light. So just do the side with a little bit. Maybe this part should be more brownish, and this part, I'm not sure. Okay, we can have a little bit. Okay, the brown on the trunk, that's his trademark. He uses a very strong color. I think if you look at the tree before sunset, because the light, especially this time of the year, this light is so flat and directly shine the trunk. Every time I see this, I want to paint that feel, and he got it. I think he does this tree almost like that. So it's a sunset color on the trunk, but he doesn't do it on this one. Because in painting, we don't really follow the natural law. We follow the, there's 3 laws maybe. One is the natural law we must follow, like how the mountain, the tree is made. And we also have to follow the painting, the art laws, right? And finally, they are subject to your heart, your feeling law. How do you feel? It's more subjective. Yeah. So if the first 2 is more objective, art is in between. Maybe art could be very objective or very. I think the art has like music. It's more like a music, right? So it has the mathematic or rhythm, kind of. So I think I missed this part. I need to add up. You can mix this 2 color to make a light ink kind of gray. You don't have to use ink. Yeah, you can just use, and you can just add. See, I just changed the hue of this part a little bit, but I missed a little cloud in between these 2 layers. That's okay. I have some here at least. Okay, so that's the cool and the wet contrast, and the blue color should be added along the vegetation later. Maybe here we can have some preparation for the trees. You can have some little bit mineral color to echo the colors on this foreground. So just add a little green there. Very, very light, very impressionistic. Okay, then, oops, that's a lot. I'm getting a little over. And then when you have concentration, you have to disperse it. Concentration, you have to disperse it. And just have green everywhere. So it makes it look like a spring mountain. I don't know what's the season. Usually they have a clear indication of the season in the Chinese landscape painting. So this is the in slope. This is the yang side. Yang side here, and then there were some trees there. Okay, so the pine tree needs to be colored just with a little color the trunk, and this pine is behind the foliage tree, so you can have a little bit behind there, and then squeeze out the foliage. I just fill in the white trunk with a little brown, very gentle. You can you can highlight the color on the branch as well. And sometimes we do see blues in his painting, but not in this painting. Maybe this is sunset or something you really don't need, and the black indicates already represents the greens, so we don't have to use any green, I think. So you can use a little brown behind, squeeze out the white roof. The roof actually could be a little brown also, because the white cloud behind is white. So let's do that, but it's not so brown. It's like a highlight kind of. So just kind of gray, warm gray. That's the color, I think. You can usually we just use pure umber to go over the lines. Just a little color, and you can have a little color between the pillows. Maybe, just to indicate some material, anything. You can have a little indigo on this tree, but I believe there's not much color. Maybe we just leave that out. Just keep it simple. So this house has a little brown, maybe, and you can highlight the line with a little gray, just to make it, to enrich it, but not really color it. Now I'm going to do the space between the house and the clouds. So just a little wash, and look at how I soften the edge with the clean water on the tip, so I can draw the line without creating a hard edge. See, you can do this. So you can soften just create a transition, and then we see some like a sunshine in the forest there, and then some forest there. Actually, this could be done after the trees. I may have mistaken by saving the trees the last. You could have done the trees together with the contour, maybe. Then you don't have to wait to dry, this whole thing to dry, to do that. But I can use a household iron to dry it, and then we can keep working on the trees. For you, if you have to wait, you can use hair dry. If you think it's done with the washes, we don't have to dry it completely. We just have to make it dry enough, otherwise it will bleed. Okay. 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 Uh-huh. Okay. So I have the iron, and then let me put a piece of paper which is sized paper. It's not absorbed. It's not going to absorb the paints. Okay. Just to see, you know, to prevent the dust, and I just want to see the dust from the iron. You want to keep it with maybe a drawing paper, you know, a newsprint, something. But I don't want to use absorbent paper because you might reduce the intensity of the color, blotting the painting. I don't want to do that. I just want to dry it. See, the paint does not blot away with this piece of paper on top. This is a unsized paper. So it's just, you know, save all your wasted painting for all kind of purpose I will show you to use. And basically, you can use them for practice your strokes. In one story of a teacher who requires his student to submit 10 pounds of newspaper covered with this kind of stroke, darkened the newspaper with the stroke practices, just to get used to the brush, the nature of the Chinese brush. So you need to accumulate enough mileage, so to speak. Okay, that's the dried painting look like. Okay, I'm going to turn this off. Just have to unplug this. Okay, now I'm going to make some Christmas trees. As we mentioned earlier, the tree usually looks like this. Right, that's a Christmas tree. But after Christmas, you can cut off the top maybe, and then you use some kind of a wire to make it into a tree like that. Am I right, Victoria? Victoria, can you describe how they make this bonsai tree? Oh, yeah, if it's too dry now, I can spray a little water because, you know, it's too dry. I feel like it's too crispy, so I spray a little bit. It's just add a little moisture back, so you will create some kind of natural blending. Let me see. I have to zoom in so you can see what I'm working on. This little trees here. So let's do this. There might be some trees in front of it. You know, you can add. This has to be darker. Just like that, and some grass or whatever. And then behind, you know, there's some long, some short, and this one is behind the rock. It has I have to keep this dry. Keep it dry. That's his style. Dry brush. This is almost like a fork. Yeah. Oops. So I think I spread too much. Use a little bit peach sap. Control the bleeding. Besides, because it's overnight ink, it's kind of rough, coarse, with you know, without much binding. So you need to resituate with some glue, pitch sap glue. Okay, that's the group I see here. One side could be a little longer. Don't have to be symmetrical. You know, I see some gesture there. Yeah, it could be the cypress, right? It could be redwood, because the color is looks like that. And you know, when the brush gets dry and gets lighter, you do the just keep going, and you'll get this kind of natural gradation. When it's very dry, don't stop. You just go slower. So you get this very loose, very soft, distant. It kind of like a, you know, from solid to soft, and it gradually changed into distance, right? This is the foreground one, and we can practice on some important part. Like this one has a, you see, this is a little group. It has a main tree, like a host of this group, and some guests playing a supporting role, and some just a little trunk without detail, and it's all okay. So this has a dominant one, and this one has a dominant one. Usually that comes first, and then you do 3 or 5 next to it, and then add the little arms. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, there's some white mist in the front, so we can still keep that line maybe. Oh, we have to go lower. That's okay. Don't have to follow exactly. When you missed it, you missed it. The mist is in the tree, I think. So you can use some additional color just to blend it, to create that kind of sense of mist. You can still add color, I mean, and then use dry brush on wet into dry onto wet. Yeah, dry onto wet. So I have some kind of movement like up and downs, but not you know, the same kind of level. I see a diagonal, so diagonal, and some kind of up and down movement. That's rhythm. Not same repeat, right? Don't repeat, not straight, not so natural has the rhythm, and you just follow this dry stroke, this Christmas tree color kind of, okay. And that creates a contrast. See the dry, dark with the light, wet, right? You can even add a little bit to that. Oh, here's another slope. It's kind of inner slope. So it's a relatively lighter. So that's just to create a jumper between these two grounds. I call that jumper that connect the two. See, large and medium and small. Large, or whatever you call it. But that's how this works in painting, not necessarily in the natural, but natural has all this kind of rhythm. They don't really repeat, or you know, we always tend to make everything symmetrical, or if you know, the rules are basically used to correct problems. And the style, according to a quote I learned from yesterday's watercolor class, what's style is how you deal with accidents. You know, your coupe with how you cope with crisis. That's a style. Okay, now I'm going to do the distant trees. See, this tree on this hill is this slope is cliff. I see, it's a little darker, and then the mist downhill because the mist tend to grow to rise from the river or the valley, the lower grounds, right? So we see a, let me do the slope clearly here. So there's a, oops, I think I missed it. You see, when I enlarge, I don't know where I am. Okay, this is a empty slope. This one has the trees on that. So I'm going to cover this this area, this mistake, this dark. I consider as an accident. If you don't want to keep it, you cover it with trees. The trees could be used to cover mistakes. Also, rocks could be used to convert trees to rocks. If the trees goes wrong, just turn it to a rock, right? That's how easy it is when you do landscape. You can fix things by changing the object into something else, and you cannot really do that with the figure painting or flower painting. So landscape is relatively easy for beginners to start with. Yeah, I would say if you have trouble with bamboo or orchids, turn to landscape for a while. Then you will, when you get used to the paper, you can do better with other subject matters if you're a beginner. So just take a landscape class first. Pick all the landscape classes from this series. It's really, this latest series actually more comprehensive than the class I've done because I got more time with you and I have more, information about the development of a Chinese landscape, not just the introduction, but you really get into the museum to see masterpieces virtually and to copy, to learn by copy. That's the only way we learn because this does not exist in nature, so to speak. You have to, it's a second nature. If you consider humans are product of nature itself. So it's the spirit of nature itself. So you have to copy to activate your own landscape, mind landscape. Then when you go to nature, you will see differently, and you will not only to find proof of this kind of the style you learned, but to develop your own style and formulas. So see, this a line of dots indicate the slope, but you don't have to do it like a string of beads, or you have to have some break, and then some small, some large, some close, and some rhythm. That's rhythm. Yeah. And finally, I'm going to work on this side. Then we'll be ready to finish. I don't think we have time to finish the second one, but I will show you the homework I've done for the other one. Then you will know, you'll have a chance to finish after the class, and I will be happy to help you. If you join my online year-round online class, ChineseBrushPainting.ning.com, you can not only see all the previous recording, and also you can submit your work for help. You get all your questions answered by me or other fellow students. It's very good to have a group because Kuncan has a friend or several friends who really helped to encourage him to develop his style. They really appreciated his painting. So to get a peer comment is very, very important. It's a social kind of, fortunately, we have this social network these days. We can connect it through internet at home. And he lamented in his later time that his friend can no longer visit them because they get too old to walk through the trails in the mountain. So they don't have emails and things like that. That's convenient as today. So we're so lucky that we have so many references. He saw two paintings from his friend collection. One month's painting, he will copy and then and then go mountain and then try to use that. Oops, I think I'm getting kind of. So this is the middle ground. We should not have trees on the far distance. Okay, stop there. Yeah, he will copy the whatever he can get or see, from his friend. Chen Zhenkui is a master, a student of Dong Qichang, the Ming master. He's a big collector of ancient paintings. And his friend Chen Zhenkui is also a scholar, amateur artist. In Beijing, he had the official position in Beijing for a while, and he started to paint a series called Woyu, Jiangshan Woyu, meaning mountains and river, traveling mountains and river in the bed, or from room. That's a traditional way of saying landscape, the functions of landscape, because when they become civil service, they cannot live in the mountain anymore. So they paint after work, they paint landscape to satisfy their spiritual needs, to get rest in the natural, in the imaginative life of a hermit, even they live in the capital. And it's called, he numbered them. His goal is to make 500. Actually, he reached almost the goal. I think maybe 300 or some. We have seen some numbers. He numbered them. So number one, like none of these are the same. He painted scrolls of different mountains and rivers and numbered in a sequential order. He tried to paint 500 of them. He has very good relationship with the monk. Okay, I'm going to add a little warm color wash later after this dry. I think I got 3 minutes left. Let me see. I need to finish this corner. So this is a slope there. Let's see. I see trees there. And then a lot of faded out, or fogged out ones. So you can just use softer ink and a stroke, looser stroke. See the in and out of this line if you draw a line of the trees, it will be not so straight. So it goes down and up and then almost level, but not exactly, right? So this is the level, and here is this warm color in the trunk separated from the gray background, and also yeah, just create a color according to different kinds. That's the idea of this. So just keep them categorized. You know, the trees in one color, rock in one color, or it has some logic there, I think. So that's a host group, and then we just have another minor group there. Just the 4 branches almost, and then overlap them. So just repeat the same theme, same pattern. We call it a fractal pattern. If you're familiar with the modern design, there's a program in about 20 years ago when I started graphic design. It's called the Fractal Design Painter. That's the computer program. They use this element, like you can spray the bamboo or branches, plum branches from the hose, just like that. So it would it plant them on the painting. I think Photoshop bought that company, Fractal Design, and it became part of Photoshop, I think. So you can spread elements of leaves or branches from a hose. That's very interesting program. Yeah, this paper has a character, you know, when it's wet, it looks like dark. Even it's clean water, you know, it looks like very dark. To see the true color, you can dry it, of course, and you can lift it just, you know, against the light, and you will see how it really look like. I'm not sure if you can see that. Anyway, so this is basically what this painting is. There are many ways to do the same thing. I think the artist may don't know even, you know, himself what to do first, what to do next. You just go with the flow, you know, the instinct, your intuition will tell you. If you don't think too much, you just when you feel comfortable with this brush, you will do the right thing, not just try to make each stroke for you know, control everything. If you go with a certain order, logic or reasonable order, you will get your natural landscape. Yeah. I wish you finish this even after the class, and then you can join the group to show us, to show everybody. We'll see you. If I think we don't have time to critique. If any have questions, let me stop for a while. It's already 33. I'm going to going to write the title. This inscription I translated in the handout, very long one. It talked about the art history, and I forgot something about style, and his friend Chen. Usually it's a response to Chen's discussion, you know, with his best friend. one day they talked about a dry brush, he would do a dry brush. One day he talked about simplicity, he would do a very simple style. So I don't know what this one is inspired. This is exceptionally simple and very contemporary looks. Okay, I'm going to write I think it's there's a Chinese title for it. I forgot. This is what it's called, Temple on Pine Hills. We can just make that up. It's Pine Hills. Cui something. 从楼叠翠图. I forgot the name of it. Any suggestions? Since it's Christmas, maybe we just call it autumn. Not Christmas, I mean Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is next week here in the States. So we don't have class next week, but we'll continue after that. Then we'll take a 2-week break, 2 weeks break on the week with Christmas and then the New Year. Then we continue after that. So so I give you the link with maybe 13 classes. Actually, we only have 10, right? Yeah, because I cannot change the program on Zoom to reduce that number. So I'm going to skip those holidays. Oh, here's another group I forgot to add. Here on top of this, here, there, in the clouds, kind of. And there's a tendency of, you can see the rule goes like, there's 3 rows, like this direction, there's diagonal, and then just, see, this is a broken ink technique. You do it a little color, then you draw with ink. You can do the opposite. You draw the ink before the ink dries, you dot the color. So that creates this kind of natural blend effect with dry brush, of course. So this would not, you see that's the kind of contemporary look, right? Wet into wet. Broken ink is not new. We learned from Zen painting earlier. Yeah. Okay, so this cannot be duplicated. You just go with the process, wet into wet, and you'll get interesting effect. You can expect to something. And if it's good, just keep it. If not, you let it dry, and then you redo it. You can blot it with an absorbent paper, maybe a clean tissue or cotton paper towel. Just reduce a little bit and then let it dry. And here, I need to reinstate a little bit. Maybe not. This is the soft edge. This goes out to the void. So I don't need to. I just got some blue there. I'm going to write a title. Actually, there's another version. You see, on this version, the color is a little cooler, and I can see he washed the sky with the kind of gray. Isn't it nice? So let's do that. That will create more clouds in the sky, and meanwhile make the clouds in the middle of the mountain to stand out. Okay. New discoveries. Okay, it might turn this painting into a cloudy day, but I think maybe we just keep it to blue sky. For some reason, even China in the past may not have so many blue sky days. For the very reason he himself, Shixi himself, has suffered for most of his life the syndrome of joint pain, or what is called rheumatism, right? Do anyone of you know that term? Because of the wet climate. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And Henry, I think there's a step on the lower left as well.
There is something I missed?
There's a step of stairs on the lower left.
Stem?
Stair.
Stair.
Stairs.
Oh, entrance.
Yeah.
Oh. Thank you. You're really good. Good eyes. I missed that. The entrance. How can we miss that? That's very important. In Chinese painting, we have to make the painting workable. Yeah. We just mentioned his trails. How come this painting does not have trail? That's not it must be a fake. Without a trail, right? Okay, thank you, Ping.
Just learning from you to read the painting.
Oh yeah. I did the same thing on yours. No,
Yeah, I didn't pay much attention on the painting before. Just to look, oh, that's a mountain, a house, a tree, so that's it. Nah, I pay more attention.
Oh, okay. That trail really helps. It leads the eye. It gives the exit. So that's colored this with a little orange. This corner. So in Chinese painting, the focus usually is hidden, right? The focus. It's rewarding when you look at it. When you stare at it long enough, you'll find some. You'll see more things you didn't see earlier. So that's the charm of master painting, So you always can find something more. So each time you make a copy, you learn something from it. That's very good. Okay, so I make this part a little focal point. I don't think he will make he will color the steps, but we can highlight that with a little brown, just a little bit, maybe just to call attention a little bit. Can you see it? Okay. Yeah, that's it should be a little level, but maybe that's okay. It's a little leaned, but that's okay. Okay, and anything else I missed? Okay, maybe there should be a person's. Oh, I see a head or something looking out in the from the window. So we just put a little orange there. Maybe it's like a person. I don't know. I missed the balconies. Yeah, I know. I missed a lot of details. And you can have balconies, something like that. So you can have figures. Well, I made it to look like lantern, but it's okay. Yeah, you can add details just like that. And the darkest is now. You can even add more dark to call people's attention. Like you can enhance this leaves. This is after color. Some part will feel like a fade out. you can bring them back by reinstate them, and you can add a little dark to the foliage if needed, just to make it in the front of the mountain, you know. So this copy is different. So I see this needles are not so dark, but here I see quite dark, and I can clearly see the clouds behind with a little warm kind of color. So you can just add that, and then it connects to the forest behind that. It has a little color bleed through the. It's like the beam of sunshine here and there with some warm color. It could be the trunk color of the trees, so some warm color with the forest. Okay, and I see a lot of dark here. I'm not sure if I should add it, because in Western art we only maintain the stronger contrast at the focal point. I think this might be the focal point here in this area. So you can reinstate this, but don't overdo it. You know, I start to do that. So stop. I'm going to try. Let me see. I can maybe do a reverse search to find the name of this painting on Google. Let me show you how to do that. To find out the name of the official name of the label, you know. So I just go to Google and upload this picture. Let me try this first here. Google image search and upload the image. You know that, right? Just go to Google and upload image, choose file, and you can reverse this. You can search by the picture and find out the origin of that, and you'll see the description of that if you want.
We do not see your search. So,
okay.
So you just enter the name of Ken Chan and then search. Search what? Search the word?
No, search the image. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we see it?
Okay, let me show you. Zoom. I try to find, because my folder is kind of complicated. I try to find that folder and then show you. Shixi. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm going to share this now. Okay, how to do this image reverse search demo at Google.
We still don't see your screen.
Okay, can you see
now.
Google now?
Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm at my folder, so I find this image. I want to find either one. It should work, but I already changed the name of it into my own name, so it's kind of interesting to see how smart Google can find without the reference of the file name. So it's uploading. Oh, we found it. It's called the 松野楼阁图. 松野楼阁. Okay. So I was right. The name of the painting is like that. But should we do the?
So you just click on the image, and how do you load it to the Google to search on that?
See this camera on your Google? You see a camera. Search by image.
Yep.
And you click and then upload the image and choose file.
Okay.
Yeah, you can. Let me do it again. So you can search this one, the second one. You'll find it. So see, this is the 松野楼阁图. Yeah, 金昆才.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's stop doing that. Should I do the sky? I think we should do that, right? Let me use a large brush, just one stroke. Okay, so I'm going to use a large brush my water is not so clean, which is good. I like some gray, so it's not so pure. And then indigo, and you can use mineral green, mineral blue, but this the mineral color could be very chalky, so be careful with that. It looks like yeah, too pastelish, you know. And by experience, I can see this color is enough. So you don't have to use very strong colors. I do like more ink in it because we want to make it look like Chinese sky, not yeah, it's not polluted. Let me just, you know, it's just a different climate in southern China. It's so much like we have a period between summer. It's called the season, the yellow plum season. When the plum gets ripe, you got 1 month rain without stop. That's how, you know, wet it is. Everything is wet. Yeah, you can. That's how he got sick, I think. So I'm going to use a little water to create some clouds on the horizon. And then we wash this just like that. Oh, that's too dark, I think. Too dark. The other day, I see a cloud, a sky with a lot of clouds here, but just a very bright sky in between the hills, just like that, in our local, you know, outside of my window, just like that. I think that's the interesting effect. And if you learned the Western painting, they might do some yellow ochre in the white, on the white, so there's no white, really pure white. But on Chinese painting, it's okay. This might be too strong. Be careful. So, but my experience tell me it's going to fade, just fade away after it dries. Believe it or not, I'm gonna dry it to show you, so you can get a sense. But after it is mounted, it will come back. The intensity will come back. That's very important to note. So you need to mount at least one of your painting to see it, to get a feel. So you don't overwork. You don't really paint too much. Okay, if you have to leave earlier, I'd like to say goodbye to you. Don't have to, especially if you're too late in Europe. This class is recorded. We'll send you a recording afterwards. So feel free if you have to go sleep or something else to do.
All right. Thank you very much, Henry. Yes.
Okay. Okay, let me just dry the sky, then I can write on top. I don't think I need to write on the sky like he did. He need a lot of space to write the whole entry, you know, about his comments on art history. So it's very practical with iron, with Chinese painting. You can iron an individual corner, you know, like just a small area, just like a small area, and that's better than a hair dryer, hair blower, I call it. See, that color fades, right? You can see the corner is still wet. So that's how dark it is, and you look at the color. So it's almost like 2%, maybe, maybe 3. Definitely less than 5%. I don't know any percentage makes sense, but just give you a feel if it's if you dilute how much water you need to get the right intensity. Okay, and I try to bring the white mist or clouds in the foot of the mountain. I think that's how this painting works. I would write the name on this side instead of on the across the sky. Okay. You can use a better. I can use a better brush, and on some of the painting, he does the description and the seal too large, like a Shitao always does, because of the scale of the painting is so small, and I like to keep the writing small, and not to destroy the sense of scale. Song Ye, there's a there is a traditional character, but I think this one also works because in ancient time they also use a simplified form. Okay, I follow Shitao's style. You might mistaken this as a Shitao again. I think we wrote this character before, last time. Yeah. This is a cliff. Actually, this has a wave. This has a wave. Let's just do that. Low, good. And when you have 2 horizontal lines, you have to eliminate 1. Just leave 1. Either one should work. This usually on the bottom. So that top one, it's not extended. Can you see it? Yeah. I cannot see mine. Okay, you got no good. This character must have some, because I don't like the simplified form. It's so wet. I think the paper is still wet, maybe. This one looked like a different style. I don't know. This doesn't have the wave, it's inside. But that's okay. Good. I don't have to write the character for pictures. That's the title of the painting. And then we just say Fang, or you can say 致敬. That's what we like from Emily's English square word. Emily used the word homage in English, translate into Chinese is 致敬. So that's a good expression of what we write. 致敬 means pay respect or homage. 致敬实习. And you don't have to write the same style on the site's inscription. You can write any style, like cursive style. 实习. I think I spell it in the handout. If not, you can check maybe on Google, the Vic dictionary. Something it will tell you. This means stream. 实习, 致敬实习. and then the year. I think we just write the year here. This is the year of the rat, and we count this season as the winter already. Okay, I just write my Chinese name, Xiaohui. Morning clouds, that's my name, and seal. I said I would use as small as possible, but he does use a large seal on the painting, as you can see. The other painting I was trying to do. See, this seal is huge, right? That's his seal, and then my copy. I'll show you in a minute, just to show what you can do. Okay, now if I put the seal down, it will be right on top of this tree. So I will avoid that. You can either overlap on the character, or you can put it on the side. Just use my mouse pad. I don't know where I put it. Just mouse pad there. And I just put here. That add an accent to the painting, the warm color also. Okay. Pine cliff. This means a temple building. Loge means high building, high hall, temple hall. This is a level, multi-floor building. It's Ge means a high building. In the pine cliff. Okay, under pine cliff maybe. Homage to Shixi, the year of rat, winter, Henry or Xiaohui, and my last name Li. Okay, here's two versions of another painting I did in preparation for this class. I think it's not so difficult, but it's a challenge. You can try, and this is a half finished painting. You can see how I started. So his painting is basically dry brush outline, not dry brush, just dark outline. And maybe it turns light, but just keep going. You get all the variations, and then keep using the same brush, the thirsty brush, to do the rubbing. This is the rubbing technique, and just for the record, I really want to show you this magic. So when you finish the whole, after you finish the whole painting, you start washing, and I use this little modern technique here, so you can see I turned the paper over, and then I just washed this stream, this waterfall, just like that. You see that white? And that's what I was experimenting. Maybe not so successful, but I used this white, transparent white ink. It's a resist. It's like a mix of alum and maybe gelatin. I don't know what exactly in that, but it creates this kind of resist, almost like the water resist or masking fluid in watercolor. The best part of this is you can still paint on it. You don't have to peel it off. You can paint on the front. I did it on on the back, because on the back you can see the color will be lighter than where it has no application. On the front is very hard edge, so you can soften it. You know, you can put if it's in a shadow. You know, oops, that's just exaggerate too much. Okay, let me just soften it. Yeah, you can just make it in a shadow, maybe just using little color on the front, so it's not so white. Yeah, but still it's whiter than the area without it, right? Yeah.
Henry, where do you get that resist?
It's a white, transparent white ink on Blue Heron Arts. We have plenty of them in stock. Yeah. So you can get from Blue Heron Arts transparent. It's called the transparent white ink.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you can use it for snow effect. I did the snow yesterday. You can check the recording, in the watercolor class, in the later half of it. I did that. It's very, very effective on snow. So you can apply with the same brush without destroying it. It wash out. Just I think I won't let it dry on the brush, but it would. You can wash it off. You know, it's not sticky at all. It's not a glue. It's very very thin. I don't think it's a glue. It certainly has alum in it, but not so. Because if you make an alum, full alum solution, you know, I taught it before, you get the kind of crystallization. It won't get crystal with this liquid. I just love it. Yeah. So you can try that. And this paper I'm using is the what they call this mulberry paper number 3. It has the tan color. It's tan color.
Henry, will you post this painting too for us to work?
Yeah. I will do that. Yeah, I for those who have to leave earlier, we can show you the recording of this clip, this part. So I just finished this wash soon.
Yeah, I have mine.
Where to go, huh? Yeah, just feel free to leave. Okay, I just let it go into the. So basically, it's clouds on the top. This is what we call this a corner landscape, or like you only paint the bottom of the cliff instead of the whole mountain. So there's no distant mountain needed. We just maybe just make it into mist clouds like that. And the color on the pine should be a little green. Oh, too much. But let's see. Take it out. Yeah.
Yep.
You can use dry brush on wet. It's easier to control that. Just you can add more, just like that. Okay, and just separate the yin and yang side. That's basically what I'm trying to do. Okay, and we can work on details on this later after it dries. So you have to work in in several steps after dry, and then add more. After that, add more. Just make some brown color here, there. That's the focal point. And here we have some warmness, I think, in the middle. Okay, that's cool part. This should be orange shadow. You can add ink to blend it, and the trail should be basically white. You can do that later after it dries.
Did you use resist on the trail too?
Oh yeah, that's a good idea, but don't overuse it. I already did too much. It's yeah, don't rely on this kind of technique things. It's still, you can make it more natural by dilute it. I tried to make it dramatic, so I didn't dilute it. I used dry brush directly dipped into this bottle. I just open and dip it. If you use some water, maybe just to load, just like you paint, you have something concentrate and then dilute. You might have a gradation, But I used just the pure even block. So that makes it look so odd. Look like snow, not water. But after that dries, you can soften it. Look at the watercolor I did. You can use gouache to cover it, because this won't take any absorb any transparent color anymore. So it's kind of difficult to. You can glaze a little bit, but not easy to change the hard edge. But with gouache in watercolor, you can cover it. That's what I did yesterday. Interesting to work with, and you can even mount this on a piece of watercolor paper and then keep working on that. It's all possible. So in this class, I will open more on the experiment techniques, because that's the modern painting. It's characterized with pouring ink, but basically the idea is not changed. But as a Shitao put it, the brush and the ink should go with the time, or go with the fashion, if you will. What people appreciate today, Okay, so we don't have time to finish this one, but you can see this one I did without the resist. You just save it, negative paint it. Yeah, you just save the unpainted paper, just like watercolor. So I saved this trail. This was the first one, and this is my second one. I didn't do the composition with the tracing, so it varies a little bit. It's like a garden stone, a Chinese scholar's stone, and it resembles maybe some kind of a dragon or animal. You just use your imagination when you paint a stone. Try to make the stone dance, like a Tang's painting of the rock and roll landscape. Remember that one? The rock is could dance. Yeah, could be expressive too, not just the trees. But as Shitao put it, I think that's Shitao's. If the tree or the building is straight, make the rock rock. If the rock is the mountain is straight, then make the tree lean to the sides. Not to everything dance. Okay, something stable, something diagonal, some movement. Yeah. So in this case, I see a lot of movement in the water here, and then the rock. Yeah. And I see some wind blowing the trees, something like that. So just be creative. Yeah. I like to see your experimentation with negative painting, if you like, or resist for waterfall. Yeah. Normally I will draw this ink lines, then do the color, including the resist. Because after this, it's kind of hard to draw with the same freedom. Yeah. But I cannot wait to try this, just to create some drama for this class and introduce this wonderful product. Modern, we have more materials to play with, and we should master them all while we keep the heart of the art the same, which is the creativity, source of creativity of our paintings, our forms of art. And like his quote I gave you in that handout, he cannot live without painting for a day. So painting becomes his sole goal of aim of purpose of life. Yeah, he always write admonitions to his followers. Don't be lazy. Don't be lazy. That is advice. Keep painting. Yeah. Keep studying. Yeah. Same as Huang Binghong, the master who lived to 93 years old. He's still painting. He made 40,000 paintings in circulation in the market today, and he made daily programs. Huang Binghong, yeah, he's a big follower, big fan of this monk. So at the age of 80, he still make daily plans of learning new styles, study new artists, study these new study plans. So to live, to learn, and to paint. That's the lesson we got from this monk. Not only a survival of the war of the former dynasties, as a monk, and also creative. His just leave his mark in the art, in the cultural history of mankind. That's what we try to cope with our crisis today. Thank you, and see you after Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you, Henry.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Have a
you.
good Thanksgiving.
Bye.
Henry,
Yes.
Henry, where will we find the recording?
Oh, I'll send you by email.
Okay, thank you.